If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
Okay, so let's see, where should we go next? I had a couple ideas of things to do. Okay.
While you're looking, what about filling
Yeah,
system? Did you not at one point talk about a piston filler?
I love filling systems. I have a variety of different kinds of pens that I've bought that have different filling systems. And lately there's been a couple people that have been making different kinds of filling systems to be incorporated in custom pens. So there's a piston filling system. There's a syringe, I think, that's available as well. There's several systems that are possible. So so I haven't decided to make one of my own yet, but there's several possible out there.
In the end, though, cartridges or converters are the best. They're the easiest to clean. They're the easiest to clean.
Right.
Less components.
Right. I don't know how easy it is to disassemble some of these other systems. And as you say, I would say when I first got back into fountain pens, say 5 years ago, I was really enamored of the piston, the vac fills, and all that. They're all really cute until you try to clean them, you know. And then you get into situations where you're, and again, this is, nothing to say. I still love those systems. I would say for the last month, I've been using my, pretty much writing exclusively, although I just switched now recently, but I was writing with a Visconti Homo sapien, which is of course not a cartridge pen, and really liking it. I mean, I really like that pen, but it's, I decided, I guess, well, I'm not going to bother writing with it, but I've been writing with this pen for about a month, and I've taken on somebody's system. We will leave that to everybody will know as soon as I say. I fill it with one ink, and I keep filling it, and it's called Yamabudo.
That's a big secret for sure.
That's a big secret. And you know what? At that point, it doesn't matter how hard it is to clean the pen. You just keep putting the same ink in again, and it's fine.
It's a laziness thing for me.
I know. It's certainly good, and it's a good.
Joe, are you trying to tell me that you don't even like Yamabuda? It's just because you're busy.
I'm somebody who really likes wine, so the color of the ink really appeals to me. Even in my copper plate work, I used to love red wine inks.
So you like the ink. It's not only laziness.
Oh, yeah. I love that color ink.
Well, you could be lazy with any one color of ink, So you could choose. Doc has just picked. That's the one he uses all the time because he likes that ink, right? But he could have settled on a blue or whatever,
Some people love the inks and doing swatches. I really don't care. I just want to be able to write my script. That's all about the writing element for me.
Yeah, and I definitely have. I guess we'd have to call it pen attention deficit and ink attention deficit, and that is I will do. At one point I was inking up a pen. Let's see, I think it was the not this last year, but the year before. I was doing the Inkvent calendar, and I inked up a pen with each ink every day. And at the end, I had like 30 pens inked up at once.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah. I'm going the other direction. Like this last time, basically for the last month or so, I switched. I'm just using one pen with one color and just refilling and refilling and refilling, and it's kind of nice. You have to like both the color and the pen to do that.
Those are all inked up, Tina? Nice.
Okay. Anyway, so what should we do next?
Those are my everyday carries plus a few extras.
Okay.
What are you going to show us, Mike?
All right. So let's see. I was going to go on to. Should we just talk about materials for a moment?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
good. Like a good place to go. you always start with materials, okay? And you could do almost anything with, you can make a pen out of almost anything. If you're making the pens I'm making, you usually have to pick a material that's, at least for me, I'm starting out very easy, and I'm going to switch cameras here again, and hopefully I won't destroy everything. There we go. You should see a table. There you go. Here we go. So here, for example, is a material that's made by Resinworks. It's basically, they make a bunch of team colors. And so here's the Minnesota Vikings, right? I'm in Minnesota, so why not, right? And so I made a pen with that. Okay, if I can get into the camera, there we go. I'll get into the camera. There we go. And so this pen is made from that material. This material happens to be one called Alumilite, which is a resin kind of material. It's a very popular material for custom pens because it's not super hard, but it's not super soft, but it will cut, it will turn, and it will also cut threads. So you can put threads into it. So like if you look, I'm putting threads right into the actual material. It's all one piece there for the barrel. And so what you do is you would take each of these, there's 3 pieces in this style of pen. There's the cap, of course. There is a barrel. I don't want to roll off my table here. The barrel and the section, this piece here. And so you cut the appropriate piece out of this blank. You can see this, in this case, it starts out square, but that doesn't really matter to a lathe. As long as it's bigger than what you're trying to make, you can spin it and cut it down to a smaller size. And then you can cut threads into it. I'll switch to the barrel since it's not, doesn't everything hang on it. So you can see there's threads cut into this piece here. And those are the threads that match up to the cap that hold it together. And this is all pretty standard for all pens. And then I don't know if you can see it, but there's threads on the inside as well. That's actually showing up pretty good for once, right? And those are the threads.
Lost your mic there.
Did I lose my mic? Huh. Am I still online, everybody?
Yeah, well, here you are.
Oh, okay, okay. But so you can see the threads here. So that can all be cut in this material. If you're using another material that doesn't lend itself to threading, say like a wood or a horn or something, or stone, something that you can't cut machine threads into like this, you then have to make an insert out of another material like ebonite or whatever that you can make these threads in and then put the pieces together, right? So that will involve gluing some pieces together and such like that, you know. But in this case, these are just 3 pieces, you know, that you hollow out and you put threads into, and that's how the pen is constructed.
Mike, you ever try making them out of wood? You mentioned you have a wood lathe.
Yes, it's called a wood lathe because it is often a style that's typically done. You often do a lot of things like wood bowls and things like that, and what the real distinction is, it basically has a rest, you know.
Yes.
That sits here, and the piece is spinning, and then you're putting your cutting tool on that rest, and then moving it along and cutting it by hand. And all the curves and everything is all done by hand. Now, the next level up is what's called a metal lathe. And that is, and then basically you have a carrier that's on a threaded mechanism that can be moved back and forth. And you aren't doing it by hand anymore, but you can get some really nice straight cuts with that kind of machine, of course. And of course, we won't go into tools. I'm basically using a very simple tool, the wood lathe, but yes, it can be used on wood. It is not very good in terms of the forces that are necessary to cut metal. It's not generally a good idea to cut really hard metals on a wood lathe because you're doing it all by hand, right? And getting those kind of forces and getting them precise is difficult on a wood lathe. Then you do need to cut those materials on a metal lathe. That's why it's called a metal lathe too. All right. So there's sort of the before and after. I'll put the cap back on. And before we go that far, I'll tell you what. The section, of course, is probably the most complicated piece is the section because it has threads and it's got a taper converter just plugs into the back of the nib unit. And I have here, I need a cushion here. Here we go. I'm going to take the nib off the pen out of the section. It just threads in. I showed those sections a moment ago, or the nibs a moment ago. And so the nib unit just has a little threading on the bottom of it here. And that engages some threads that are inside the section back here. So it just goes together. And so it's very easy to swap nibs on these pens. You can take you just thread the new piece on, and now you have a different nib. And that little nipple on the end is what engages this hole here in the converter. And you just push them together, and there you go, right? And as you were saying, cleaning it, again, that's kind of, like I say, I started out really enjoying the more, I don't know, more integrated filling systems. But there's nothing like being, if you've ever used any difficult to clean ink, we won't mention any names, like Bay State or something like that, Bay State Blue or one of the nasty ones. Yeah, it's a pretty ink, but it's hard to deal with sometimes.
Love it, love it.
If you after I think about the 30th or 40th time you've moved that piston filling back and forth trying to rinse out the solution that's inside the pen, there's nothing quite like doing this, and just with a little bulb here and just spraying the water through it, And of course, now again, there's a lot of pens where you can take the nib unit out like that. Like Pelican can do that, so that you can make it a lot easier to clean if you can disassemble the pen a little bit. But some of them are not very easy to disassemble. So
some have locking collars, like the Mont Blanc 149 has a locking collar.
Right. Some of them, there's again, if there's different reasons why you do things, but a lot of times they don't want things to fall apart on you.
Right.
And you have to believe that they're not doing it just to keep you from doing things, right?
No.
they're not sabotaging your efforts to clean or service your own pen. But,
whomever it was that asked me about Bay State Blue staining that demonstrator the other day, I can state that from then to now, the staining has become profound.
Oh boy. Well, another kind of ink that is worth talking about in terms of that regard, there's Bay State, which is a notorious stainer. Another thing is, if you're using a pen that's not easy to clean, you probably want to avoid putting a glistening ink in it where it has the little particles that shimmer. The shimmer inks. That's what I'm talking about. The different kinds of inks that have different particles in them, that that like shimmer inks, and what was the chameleon inks, all the kind of inks with different particles in them. Because getting those particles out, unless you can open the pen up and really flush it through, it's very difficult to get those particles out once you put them in the pen.
And some pen designs like Sailor and Platinum and the Kaya, you not only the nibs pull straight out, but the nib comes away from the feed, so you can really thoroughly clean things out. Not that I'm doing that unless you really know what you're doing, but they're very, and even the Yovo nib, that housing, I believe, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you can unscrew the housing from the feed and the nib.
Right. You can take, as Doc was saying here, you can take, see, I'm going to this point here. I'll go to that point again. You can take the actual nib unit out, and actually at this point you can do it. A lot of times ink will get between the section and the nib unit, and this is really annoying on demonstrators or clear pens, because you'll see this ink just puddling in here underneath this clear section, if it was a clear section, and it'll be puddling, and especially if they've made the feed clear too, you'll see your ink just kind of puddling along between the pieces. So you can, again, in this case, you can unthread this and then clean this section out. And now what you're talking about is you can also go in and take the nib and the feed piece here out of the housing. And again, it varies from brand to brand exactly what you need to do in terms of how you take it apart. But these can be I think these can be just pulled apart.
Like I was just mentioning.
Don't they twist out, Mike? Don't they twist out?
I'm pretty sure. Well, I
think they do.
I don't recall. I don't recall how this particular one. This is a Bach one here, so I'm not going to take it apart. Yeah. Also, I think a doc has pointed out several times that you also have to be very careful when you're doing these kind of things. Like here, I'm basically trying to cushion the whole unit and not put any force on the nib, because if you twist the nib or flex it, you will put the nib out of alignment. And I think, Doc, your point was that in a lot of cases with extra fine nibs, you may have to get the nib retuned every time you do that.
Yeah,
what I just did.
It was Matsuyama who told me anytime you pull a sailor nib out and then replace it, it should be retuned.
Yeah, I think in that case, the sailors, do they have to be pulled out?
Straight out, yeah.
Yeah. When you're pulling on it, it's a press fit. So
Right.
as you can imagine, the amount of force you have to put on it to pull it apart, if it's a press fit part, can be large enough. Well, I mean, of course, you can certainly break things if you have to pull hard enough.
They come out pretty easily.
Do they?
I know Sean Newton, a few people asked him to try and make pens that could pressure fit a pilot or a sailor into it, but the
Yeah,
very precise.
right. Yeah, the pressure fitting, things have to be very precisely machined to do that. And and again, especially over time, if they've gotten things in them, like maybe some ink or residue or something like that, that can harden in that pressure, in that fitting, and make it hard. I know those of you who would work with the older pens, when you're restoring them, it can be really hard to restore a pen, get it apart and restore it. Even though the parts aren't necessarily glued together, over time they will glue themselves together.
Yep, that's right.
Right. So you have to use heat and all sorts of things to get some of those pens apart.
Mm-hmm.
Without breaking
real
them.
quick, Mike, real quick on the box nibs, yeah, they unscrew.
Pardon?
They unscrew out on the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they're
Okay.
both same,
Generally, again, like the sailors and all the pens, the pilots, I generally don't disassemble them unless there's really a serious need to disassemble them. I mean, if they're working, I will clean them, and that's about, but I usually don't disassemble them to go into that level unless there's some mechanical problem.
And nibs go ahead.
I use a ultrasonic cleaner on every cleaning.
Me too.
To get all that ink out of the collar, because I'll clean a pen and it'll come out perfectly clean. That water will come out perfectly clean. I'll put in the ultrasonic cleaner and it just starts coming. It's kind of actually pleasing to look at. You see that that ink kind of filter out, but it's if you don't do it, it will like you said, glue up.
Right. And even then, the ultrasonic cleaners, I have an ultrasonic cleaner that I use. You also have to be careful. Now on these materials, I don't think you can do anything to hurt them.
No, I don't.
With an ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah, not on
if you were to put some of your vintage pens in there, some of the materials aren't going to like an ultrasonic cleaner.
Right.
So you could damage your pen with an ultrasonic cleaner.
Right. I don't put anything, not celluloid or anything like that in there.
Right.
Rushi too.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Basically, again, back to ultrasonics. If there's any interfaces between materials, it'll go in there and take them apart. If you're not, if you're unlucky, and so that's something to consider with ultrasonics. And again, you definitely would be careful how you use them.
That's the one I use.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, there's nothing and you're right. I mean, it's kind of magic to watch something. It's all gummed up and you put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and everything just comes flying out of there. It's like it is like magic when you watch it. But so it's a good way to clean things if you have as long as it's safe for the material you're using.
Yeah,
it's a good way to clean things. I usually run all of my pens when I finish them, like these are of course completely safe. I will usually run them through the ultrasonic cleaner at the last end when I'm done machining and doing because I'm using various kinds of lubricants when I'm cutting the threads, and I use water soluble pieces or materials for that kind of thing. But there's always something will be down at the end of the barrel or whatever, and so I usually I'll take the pen parts and put them in a cleaner in my ultrasonic and give them a cycle in the ultrasonic cleaner to get rid of all the residue, if you will, from manufacturing. So start out really clean. Okay. So we talked about material. Now, I guess, you can make a pen out of almost anything. You know, I just, you know, I've been doing a lot with Alumilite just because it's a very easy material to work with.
Pretty.
And it's pretty, you can see it's molded like this. And if you look through my catalog, almost all the custom pens are you know, the kitless pens are all Alumilite because it's an easy material to work with. Some of the other materials are brittle and like wood and things like that you can't put threads in them. You have to do inserts and things like that to get them to work. And of course, you know, I had a whole batch here that were laying on my table. I did a couple pens here, like I said, that you saw I did a Viking pen and a Green Bay pen, and I've been doing some other pens
Edmonton
like that.
Alps pen.
Okay, and you know what? I think I looked it up. What color are they? They're this. Oh yeah,
They're the green and gold. Green Bay Packers.
So, oh, here you go. I think, where did I put that? I think I still have him around. Where is he? Here he is. So here you go. Here's your Alberton or your Edmonton. Here you go. Here's your pen. It's ready to go. There's your colors. It's the same as the Green Bay pen.
They make
Ooh.
just amazing blanks, that company you buy from. The
Oh,
color
yeah.
swirls are just unbelievable.
Well, like you'll see, here's, like, you might recognize who that is. This is another one. Let's see, where I had a whole bunch of them that I was about to make. This was the next set I was going to work on. And I bought a whole set of them from them. And some of them, like here, I have some people I work with, they like NDSU. Where is it? I got another one. Oh, here's this one. I think I showed this one the other day here. This one might remind somebody of something. There we go. There's
yes, as soon as you're able to use your lathe again, we'll be going for the Ole Miss custom fountain pen with the big titanium nib and, you know, Christmas lights and everything.
All right. Well, tell me we can get down to details, but you know, I can get more of this material. I can make lots of different kinds here, but I was already starting to work down this. I was going to try to get these done before the pen shows that are coming up. Because when I travel for pen shows, I had several requests for again going back here when I hit Texas. Those, just like the Mississippi people, they're kind of crazy about their football teams, so they wanted these pens. So they came up and asked. They saw those other pens, the Viking and the Green Bay pens, and they said, "Where are my pens?" You know.
Uh-oh.
And so I may have to, like I said, I'm going to try to remedy that situation on switching cameras again. But I haven't mastered this Fuji camera. It keeps wanting to, every time I switch away from it, it turns itself off. There it is. It's back. It's just slow. I may have to use a different webcam. And of course, those of you who are watching the other day, we have, you know, you probably recognize this. Oh, I need to switch cameras again, don't I? I switched back only to need to go back. Here we go. You may recognize that material.
That was actually very pretty, that material, when I seen the full pen.
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning that, like in this case, a lot of times when you look at the outside of these, it's really hard to see where they're going to go.
Right.
The materials are, of course, the outside of the pen, the pattern, the people that make the materials, like here, we'll pick on this one again. We'll go back to the Green Bay one, or I'm sorry, to the Edmonton pen. Okay, here's the Edmonton pen. Okay, you can kind of see, you know, as you cut through the material, it's swirled in the blank. So what exact swirl you're going to end up when you get down to the diameter of the pen is hard to predict. Okay, and of course it's different from one blank. Each blanket, these are all handmade materials, like you know, and so the swirls are not identical from one to the next. So they're going to be, each pen is going to be unique, even if it's cut to the exact same dimensions. Yeah.
Can you mention who makes those blanks? Because I know some people in the group don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. All these team color blanks are made by a company called Resinworks Studio. It isn't the only thing they make, but they make they make a lot of different team colors like this, right? And all the ones I've been showing you here have been all from them. Now this one, the giraffe one is by a company called Beartooth Woods. Okay.
Oh, I like the side of that with the lines. That's
Yeah,
cool.
well, you saw what the pens looked like here. I don't, sadly, I don't have a blue one anymore. It went away, right?
Yes, it
That's-
did.
And I think he's enjoying it. But here's the brown one or the
That's
bronze
nice.
one.
That's
Okay.
nice.
And you can kind of see the blue one had the same kind of effects. You definitely get some nice depth to the material, and you end up when you cut it down to this size, you don't really see this side edge that you were seeing.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Right? When you cut it down, it ends up getting. I wasn't sure what I was going to get when I made those pens. I just bought the blanks because they look really nice, and so I
That's
made
that's
the pens.
gorgeous, Mike.
Yeah, these are, and they're beautiful, beautiful materials. That's, I could go get my boxes of materials and we could just walk through them. Of course, you could do the same
Oh,
thing with
yes,
the
we
pens.
could, couldn't we?
Some of us we've done. I know, we won't mention any names, but their initials are Lannis. We have done just that. I've sent many megabytes of pictures of
Open that pen
blanks.
up, Mike, if you would.
Sure.
That's pretty. That's a beautiful pen. Wow. That's really slick. That's really nice.
Gorgeous.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mike,
you can see
is that material the Alumilite also,
this
or
is
this
is Alumilite as well. Yes.
Okay.
You can see again.
That's like a tortoise shell giraffe.
Yeah, it's basically you can see I was able to machine directly into the material. That's one of the advantages of using this. It machines very nicely and very cleanly, so it doesn't chip.
It takes threads very nicely.
It's taking the threads very nicely. They will hard materials will chip if you try to do this to them, right? And so here's the this is the I think this was the one that caught my eye first because it's more like a giraffe color, sort of, right?
Yeah, it does look like a giraffe.
The blue one, unfortunately, the blue one really became my favorite. Of course, it's gone now. That happens to me a lot. A lot of times I make pens and they're my favorite. Here's the purple one. Okay. And the blue was really my favorite.
That one.
It's so pretty.
And people agree with me. They love it too. But I kind of consoled myself with, I could always make another one,
Make sure you keep some of those blanks to yourself.
Well, no, I'm not hoarding them. I will make them, and sometimes the blanks become unavailable, so I can't get them anymore. But like celluloid, for example, you can't really get celluloid very easily anymore. The old style celluloids, but that's fine. I want these pens to get out and get used and be written with and enjoyed. I'm not going to just keep a drawer of them, right? So,
Mike, which one of those did little Matthew end up getting?
He got the blue one. That's what I was just
Mike, what's down there?
Yeah, it's just like this blank here, but it was, of course, it was a finished pen. He got the blue one, so it's gone. Yeah, but I did get, as you could see, I got more. And and we won't mention any names, but there's some people whenever they see a pen, they want it. Okay, and little Matthew got the blue one, and someone else immediately ordered another blue one. What's that?
Doesn't Troy have one as well?
Troy has a giraffe pen, and I don't remember which color it was.
It's purple.
It might have been this one. It's not my pen. Purple. Somebody else used it, but I think it was this color.
Yeah.
Troy's. Troy has one that's like this. Okay. And of course, here's the black one, black and silver. Okay. It's okay. But I mean, like I said, the blue one really caught my eye. And so I bought some more blue. Like I say, so I had some people want blue. So I can see that. I have enough for 2 more pens here. And then of course, then there's the green.
Ooh, that's my color there.
That's a brand new.
I'd like to see you do that in green, Mike. It would be interesting to see how that came out.
You can kind of figure, you can kind of look at it and see it's going to do something like these others. It's going to be shiny like these others. It's going to have those kind of effects to it when it's made.
When did you get the green in, Mike?
Well, like I say, someone wanted a blue one, not just me. And we won't mention any names.
No, we
okay,
don't do
but
that. We don't do
we
that
don't
on
do
here.
that. There's a pen
You
maker.
gave it away,
and
Larry. You
pen-
gave it
There's,
away.
there's
a
a maker and customer confidentiality thing. It's like with lawyers, right? And we don't want to tell things like that. But the green one, I got basically I got these.
Maybe you can add a little spice to it with a little bit of gold on it somewhere.
Yes, I think someone. Yeah, maybe gold would be interesting.
Oh, maybe
yeah.
the furniture will make it gold.
Well, yes. Well, I'll give you some clues. One, let's see. It's going to definitely have a clip. All right. So I'll give you some ideas of whose personality we're talking about. It'll have a clip, and it'll also have probably an 18-karat gold nib.
Isn't that nice? That lucky person.
That
Larry,
lucky person.
You're so lucky. You are so lucky.
So I went along and tried some other.
Hey, that's cool.
Colors.
Wow.
That is
so
cool.
I basically went wild and bought every other color they made that was in stock. You know.
I need to
and
stop.
so here's a red one, of course. And then here's another very different one. How about ice blue?
Yeah.
You did have fun.
I had that. You know, you were talking about the blanks. I have sort of a blank problem, shall we say? Because everyone you see, you go, I want that. I want that. I want that.
Mike, does
it
take both of those blanks to make one pen?
Correct. You know, very often when you buy blanks, you buy if it's made specifically for custom pens, you'll usually get a 12-inch piece. It'll be one big chunk. But with these, they're making them this way, which doesn't, as you can see, it didn't stop me. I used two of them, and I made the barrel from one and the cap from another, and then I pulled the section out of I think the barrel end of it. There was enough left over, so I have a chunk left over for something else.
What's the length on that pen, Mike? Do you know by chance?
The length of the pen, and of course, you'd ask that question. Sadly, I'm not in my office. I can't get my wheelchair won't go through the door.
That's all right.
But I don't have a caliper with me or anything like that. So I don't know off the top of my head how long it is.
And it's not, and you can't post that, correct?
The way I've made it, that's again back into design of pens. I chose not to post it because I like the shape of this.
Right.
So as a result, it's not postable. You can usually tell when you look at a pen whether it can be posted or not. And again, we're back into Mike's world. I guess we could do a little vote if we wanted to, but how many people have to post their pens or need to post their pens, and how many people think it's like a sacrilege to post a pen? Some pens,
I never post a pen.
I always post.
I always post.
Okay. Yeah.
I do not post.
Okay. Yep.
It depends on the size, though. It obviously depends on the size of the pen.
Well, and there's also things like, now I don't have an example here, but if you take one of Doc's pens that have the really fancy Urushi painting patterns on them, you don't want to put the cap on and when you slam it on, it's going to scratch this, right
and
here.
That's exactly why I don't post my birds, because I don't want them to scratch up.
Yeah, even on a pen that is designed to do it, even like this material is pretty hard to hurt too much, but it will scratch it if you post it.
You got to post this one. You've got to post
Excuse me, real quick, Mike. I think I'm going to guess by one of your pens, probably about a 5.3 inch. I'm thinking.
Okay, it varies. They do vary a little bit. Yeah, the 13 millimeters like this. They're going to be very close to each other, but I don't know the precise size. You know, I guess you can kind of go. I think these are. I want to say these are 5-inch blanks. And you can see that it's right just over 5 inches. Now, I can't guarantee how precise this length is on the blank.
And the barrel is a 13, you said 13 millimeter?
In this case, they're 13s, right? And I can make just about, any size. I'm going to switch back to my other, well, I'll just leave it on here for a moment. You'd rather look at the pens than my face, right? So
now, real quick, let me jump in another time because I'm pumped and I'm excited when it comes to pens. But anyway, now Mike doesn't know this, but he soon will know this, and so will everybody else. I'm feeling in a real good mood right now, which doesn't happen very often because I come from another planet, but I've just landed on Earth. So whoever wins the pin from me, not from Mike. Mike has his own thing going down. That's cool. But for me, will be able, if they want to wait, to choose a pin that he's one of the giraffe new ones that come in. If he's up to doing it, I don't know, or this pin or whatever. So you can think about it, and when the name is called, and it's all yours.
Mike, what's that color right there?
This one's called Pearl.
That's the one I want.
Well,
I think that was one of my choices. Mike, is that one of my, was that one of my choices when I got this one?
This, actually, you got one called Opal by a different manufacturer, but this is the Pearl. This might have been one of your choices. I was buying a bunch of these for you to look at, yes. And, you know, Lannis was enabling my material addiction. And so she was going, oh, I want a pearlescent, you know, I want this, either an opal or a pearl or whatever. And so she was enabling my material obsession. And so I was buying them left and right, you know.
If it makes you feel better, these same blank companies sell to all the custom duck call makers.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I've got, obviously they use a larger size square to start with.
Yeah.
They use all of my buddies, and I have lots of them that are custom duck call makers. They also have a blank material addiction. They have whole sheds full of the stuff. So that is a real thing.
Oh yes, I definitely I have boxes of them, and you know, again, if I was in my office, I could swing around and show you. You were asking about ebonite. I've got these long, you know, 1 meter length pieces of ebonite that are just waiting to be used. And,
Liz, I think you should have that pen.
Oh, well, I wanted to have like a different color section on it. No,
okay.
Like a black?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do a different color section. We could do all sorts of things with this. I mean, you know, definitely at this level, we could do a lot of different changes, right?
That's really pretty.
Sold to the highest bidder, Liz.
But yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, if we want to do that, here, now we can make this worse, okay? So here's, I'll grab the drawer that one came out of.
So,
okay.
Mike, the pen that you gave me, and the pen you gave me is 5 1/4 inches.
Yeah, that sounds, they're gonna, you know, it's really just physics. It's not something I'm just making up. Like here, these, I tend to have a little more room here because I want to make sure the nib doesn't hang up on this piece here. But otherwise, it's driven by how long the converter is, right? The converter sticks out this far. So the pen has to be far enough to be safe. You know,
right.
Enough room to clear. There's going to be a little variation in sections. I'm sorry, converters from one to another. The length might vary slightly and the diameter might vary slightly. So you have to put a little extra space in to cover them. And you don't want to get too close here, right? You don't want that too thin. I actually could have taken that one a little shorter, obviously. Sometimes I drive it a different way. In this case, of course, this one will post if you really have to. I tend not to post anymore. I used to many years ago, but nowadays I don't post. But it's not a religious thing. And I think you're, I don't remember, was it Tony? Someone was showing it with a pocket pen where it's too short to actually write with. You have no choice. You have to.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's too short, you know, if it's that, you know, if it's less than this long, you know, you can't really write with it. It won't rest on your hand. You have to post the cap onto it. And I have a couple of those too. I have some pocket pens. So you can see here in this latest batch, you can see a bunch of different kinds of.
Look at that pretty fuchsia one.
Yeah. yeah. There's a lot of really nice ones here. You know, again,
is fuchsia a Canadian name for purple?
It's not
that one on the end.
color.
No, it's not the same color.
It is not the same color as purple.
I'll pull it out there here for those of you who are hunters. There are other colors than hunter orange, and you know, there's orange, red, black, you know, yellow. Some people with more discerning eyes can see more colors than that. But that was a cheap hunter joke.
So, Mark, when you decide you're going to do a show and tell here, Maybe you'll have to show us your duck calls.
Oh,
And then,
yeah,
and
I
then
got a
maybe
few
you could
hundred
get
of them I can roll out here.
Yeah.
and then maybe you'll get a matching pen to match one of your duck calls.
Although most of mine tend to be wood.
No, I'm not playing.
Right. Right.
So Mike,
That are sleeved with acrylic to make the sound sharp.
And of course, the other consideration, I mean, you know, do you want a clip or not? And then do you want, you know, like here, I made it, you know, this is closer to a Pro Gear kind of shape, if you will. It's not an exact copy of it.
No.
But what's that? Okay. And so, of course, this is a bigger pen too, if you compare it to these others, right? I believe this is a 15 millimeter diameter here instead of 13. And of course, the section then is bigger as well. And as Joe was pointing out, you know, the section will be bigger. If you make the diameter bigger, you can make the section bigger, and then you can accommodate things like the number 8 nibs better with a bigger section, right?
How does that section there, Mike, compare to like a King of Pen or a Custom Urushi or?
I would say this pen, right? I mean, just without looking at it too closely, I think this is probably in the realm of a King of Pen, you know, in terms of size. It's about the right diameter. It's about the right length. It's long. It's I don't know what the exact length is. It's not a huge pen. Dan's got a really huge pen, of course. We won't go into that too much, but again, this one will post. You know, I made it so it could be posted. Although again, I tend not to personally. And of course, you can do different shapes. Like that's sort of a Pro Gear kind of shape. And I can do, you know, again, it's purely what you like. Do you want a cigar shape? I did have I'm looking, just digging through my drawers here for different things. I do a lot of the blunter ones here. I think all this, you know what? I think all the cigar ones sold. Maybe I should be doing that. Here's one out of, here's a really squared one that is a ebonite. Right? This is a German ebonite. Here, I'll do it like that. So again, a bigger pen, but squared off.
Hey, Mike, we have a question.
Sure.
We have a question. Do you ever make pens to accept hardware from commercial pens?
The trick there is coming up with the machining to match the commercial pens. I would. The biggest problem for me is I can't really acquire those nibs very well. Some of them are harder to get than others, and there are pen makers that will take, you know, brand, you know, X whatever nibs and build pens out of them. But in some cases, in the extreme cases, they have to buy a pen to get the nib.
Mike, there's an eBay seller from Germany that sells Pelican nibs. I bought.
Pelican nibs are actually easy to get. I can get Pelican nibs, yeah. So then it's just back to, you know, then the actual you know, the cutting that you have to do to match the nib unit, if you will, may vary. Depends, again, I'm not familiar with all the Pelican ones exactly how they go together, but how I would make that section to match the nib would vary, right? And even here, these happen to be, I mean, I just grabbed them because you were talking about number 8s. I have some Bach number 8s, so I grabbed a couple of them. And this was a Bach number 6. The Yovo number 6 is different from this one. You know, it's slightly different. So you can't interchange those two, right? So
Mike, have you ever purchased a Pelican nib? You say they're easy to get.
I haven't purchased any because I haven't tried to make a pen yet for a Pelican. I say yet. But yes, you can get Pelican nibs. There, you can get replacements. They're one of the ones that you can get. So
are they as expensive as the retail stores are making them out to be when you buy them individually?
The number 6 and the number 8 size I bought were in the $250 to $300 range.
Yeah, that's what I've seen them for. I bought one before already.
Right. That sounds reasonable. That sounds, you know, that's not outlandish, especially if they're gold nibs. I don't know what material they are, the ones that you bought.
The 18 karat one.
Joe, Dr. Joe, the Pelican nibs, can you get the on these websites, can you get the old like double broads and triple broads?
That I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Yeah. And
Mike,
the
do
availability.
you do micarta?
Oh, I've done, let's see, I think I have one that it's, I got one. Let's see if I can find it. Not that one. But yes, I've done micarta, or at least something that is in the same realm.
That's cool. My
Uh,
door.
I don't see it at the moment. It's still here somewhere. Maybe I
Jamming.
but I don't see it. Sorry. I'm looking. I don't see it.
Hey,
I have
Mark,
made out of material like that. But yes.
Mark, I'm sure
here it is.
that
Here it is.
green or that Minnesota
I'm
colors.
sure this camera's
they look like LSU, so you can pick one of those LSU pens up when you get your Ole Miss pen.
Yeah, and then I can burn it.
Oh,
gosh. Oh gosh.
wow. That was heavy.
Here again. So this is a material called crazy fiber that's very much like a micarta, you know, but in terms of how you deal with it. But yeah, I haven't actually made a specific micarta, but this is a fiber-based material also. You'll notice here again, the section is actually, that's ebonite. It doesn't match the pen. Remember what I said earlier? That's because the manufacturer gave me a piece that was just big enough to make these two and not big enough to make the section. So you get a ebonite section instead of a crazy fibers section. But still a nice pen. I'm still really happy with it. But this has got a real fiber feel to it. It's all polished up right now, but when you look at the raw pieces, it's made the same way.
Micarta is just basically paper and epoxy, right?
Yeah,
usually cloth
or linen and epoxy, depending.
Usually it's a cloth and an epoxy, yeah. So it has cloth fibers in it, you know, and again, you can polish it up like this if you're careful. And this took a bit of work to polish it like that.
Yeah, that does take a polish very well too. That's nice.
Yeah, this is the same kind of thing. It's a resin. It's not the exact same kind that my micarta is generally well, it's an epoxy usually of some form, but this is a different kind of resin that was used for this material. You see this, I see this, they make this blank for duck calls too, so I bet you've got some duck calls.
I do. Yeah, I mean, actually, back in the day before acrylic was very common, you either had to use African blackwood to get a real sharp tone, or you had to take a Corian countertop or a piece of micarta and turn it down to a duck call and jig it to get a really, really sharp sound that would carry. So that's why duck hunters get their get their antennas up whenever they think they can get something else in micarta, because for us, for decades, micarta was like, an unobtainium holy thing, because that's what you want your duck calls made of.
All right.
They used it on guitar fretboards too. Gibson had to switch from ebony wood to micarta because there was a problem under the Obama administration where they had their shops rated for a certain level, certain species of ebony. And I don't like micarta for fingerboards because they just feel too dry and sticky. Not sticky, but not as slick enough to me.
That's my clock, by the way. Yeah.
If I saw a pen that I would like in your tray that has a clip on it, is that clip removable?
Yes, actually. I mean, that was a trick. What was his name? Was Mike also? He was on one of your hangouts. Larry.
Mike Ward?
Not Mike Ward. There was another pen maker.
Mike Riggs. Mike Riggs.
Riggs.
Yeah.
I believe you're right. Yeah. Mike Riggs. And so he talked about it, and I said, "Huh, that's a great idea." So I stole it from him, and so it was rather shameless, I think, but I did it anyway. Let's see, I'm going to grab one here. Where did I have them? Oh, here, this batch that I just was showing you. Say, for example, this pen, right? And this one just coincidentally was sitting on the top there with the tray,
It
right?
just jumped right out at you.
It just jumped out at you. And so if you look at the construction, I don't glue this, and so it's threaded together. And so you can unthread the end piece, and take the clip out, and then with a minor change in machining, it will then just screw together like that. Now, of course, there is a seam there if you look carefully, but it isn't too obvious.
Hey,
So now
that's
you have a
cool.
pen.
I can make that section into a different color too, right?
Oh, well, yes. And I haven't, again, as you can tell by looking at my pens, I have not.
What's on your mind,
much,
Liz?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a few ideas.
You can change it. You can put, I haven't really done it too much. And of course, I way back when I saw one, he called it a Frankenstein pen. And he just took pieces and just put them together, just, from his scrap bin. And just, it was all nothing but pieces put together. So nothing but accents, if you want to call it that. And so you could definitely put a different color here. And in this case, it wouldn't have to be, you could put it together permanently, right? And then you would, when you put it together permanently and machined it and everything, it would be very smooth. There'd be no seam like this, other than just the change in colors. So a lot of times you'll see pens with a different color here on this end, different color here with the finial, right? Which I don't, I'm using this, I'm not putting a finial, it's the same material, right?
Well, that's a good idea, Bill. Bill said you can also make a metal ring as a decorative spacer to replace the clip.
Right, you could do that. You could put a metal ring there. Of course, a lot of people will put metal rings at the end of the cap. It makes it harder, makes it more or less prone to cracking, if you're not careful with it. When you really thread it in tight, if you do it too much, you can crack some materials easily. So you could put metal bands there. Of course, you'll see metal bands like here. You'll see metal bands. You could do whatever decoration you want to do, right, with metal bands.
Oh, look at that! You could make a Visconti.
Well, yeah, like I said, the filling system might be a problem, and this one, I think, as I said, Bach makes it. But this is also a palladium nib. But Bach does make palladium nibs, so I guess I could try to copy that. Gold would be good enough, though. So yeah, the filling system would be the tough part.
Real quick, I got a question to Doc. Doc, my question was, I just sent you, was where do you get those designs for those nibs at?
Off the internet. I basically did a search, for instance, for the.
I can't see it on here.
I don't have it posted. There's nothing. It was off the internet. The non, whatever they call it, copyright. Not about copyright. Thumper's probably copyrighted, but I found a line drawing and I just gave it to John. And the number 4 I wrote myself and sent to him was based on Mother's design. But yeah, as I said, you got to be careful with some of these things. Laser engraving is nice, but overuse, it doesn't look that good.
Well, I was talking to like the ones I think you got. What was it, a dragon or something you had on your nib, or an owl? An owl, I think.
That came from John. Had that one. John had that. Yeah, the what was it? The Athena owl. It was Booba.
Right.
The name of it from the. I forgot what movie it was from, but.
So when I get one, do I send him the nib and then let him do his thing, or how does that work?
You let him know, or have him speak with me about which one you want. I will post that so people can see it. But I want that pretty much as my standard, nib design now. For anything I have, this is what he's talking about.
Oh, okay. Wow, I like them.
Yeah,
they're really nice.
Yeah, they're really sharp. They really. This is probably more laser engraving I'd like to see on the nib, but I just love the design of it so much that I think for me the Winnie the Pooh one was the cutest so far.
Yeah, I think so too. I like that one.
Do you have a picture of that by chance, Doc?
I sure do. Matter of fact, I could probably post it to the chat section as long as I can find it. Just give me a second here. Normally, if I'm doing one of these presentations, I want to show multiple images. I find it easier to do a PowerPoint presentation. I think I had it here.
I hate to stress you out because you have so many buttons, but So I don't like the look.
What are we looking for? Pooh, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Not Thumper. Sorry.
It had Pooh Bear on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just looking for the actual original. Here it is. That was a line drawing.
Oh,
Yeah, and I could do that, but it's, I just found it offline. I was a little lazy.
I love it. Yeah.
So I will actually put that into the chat section for everyone.
Yeah, you
That's
did.
Cute.
I mean, that's just the right amount for me of drawing on there. I'll show you why in a
Winnie
minute.
the Pooh. Have it on my nib put on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I had where's my, I had a comparison of nibs, right? And nib comparison. I think that was it. Problem is, even with, even labeling these things, it's still difficult for me to, find some of this stuff. Here it is. So I'm going to flash another one up there. This is showing a bunch of different nibs. And if you look at number 5, right? Number 5 is the number 8 block that's on one of the ASC pens. But if you look at around the top of that, you can see all this caking up of you get nib creep, and then try and push that off. You can't. It's very rough, the surface there. But those are all number 8. Well, most of them are number 8. The 149 is a 9 nib. And the Omos Paragon probably comes more in the number 6, but you can see the width of the 6th nib. And that first one is the Emperor pen, which is the most massive nib I've ever seen. So,
have you ever used one?
I've owned 3 of them in my time. Yeah, Tony's
Totally right, because they're so big. You have any problems with that?
They're right beautifully, but you got to be willing to hold a pen that size in your hand.
But it's really light. It's not a heavy pen at all.
Ebonite, right?
Yeah, it's very light, and honestly, the only thing is that if you fill it up, it may take you 7 or 8 months to write it out of ink. Holds a lot of ink. You just get the bottle and use it like.
See, but I'm used to having a smaller pen. I like the Sailor Pro Gear, and so I can write with the King, with the Emperor. It's just not what I like. And
so I guess what I want to ask either you or Tony or both of y'all, are the nibs easy to spring? One, you have to watch how much pressure you put on it versus like the Pelican 1000.
No, it's a stiff nib.
They're stiff nibs.
They're stiff nib, Larry. And I bought mine. I bought mine from Frank from Federalist.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Hey, Mike, are you going to be going to the St. Louis Pen Show?
Yes, I am. Actually, if you want, I'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to do a share, because one of the things that I wanted to mention is that, it is possible for people anywhere to buy a pen, right?
Right, if you have money.
Yeah, so here we go. I don't know if you can see this. This is my web page.
Okay. I can see a little bit.
Right here. These are the shows I'm planning for this year. I went to Chicago, St. Louis, and Dallas last year, and I've added the Pacific Northwest show, the one in Portland.
Yeah, that's in Oregon, huh?
That's in Portland, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a brand new show. It's the very first year, July 8th and 9th. It's the weekend after the 4th of July. So yes, I will be at the Chicago Pen Show, the St. Louis Pen Show, and the Dallas, and I'm adding the Pacific Northwest as well. So I don't go to a lot of pen shows, and here in the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, we don't have a pen show. The closest one we have is Chicago. It's not a long way away, but it's not a 1-hour drive either. So I certainly sympathize with people who can't make it to pen shows.
Well, we could order one and pick it up in St. Louis if we're there, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's probably worth mentioning. So, hey, look at that. There's another coincidence. Here's the, if you go to our website, here's the pens. If you go to my website, you can scroll through and see all the pens that are available. This happens to be the newest one. I do it by chronological order, so it's not really I apologize. You have to kind of hunt around to find them. So here you can look back. Oh, here's the remaining giraffe pens. You know, you can. Okay, they're good. It works. So you can click along and find pens and look at them. And if you decide you want one of these pens, you could just scroll down and hit the contact button and tell me I want that one. So it isn't a store yet. I'm thinking about making it a store, and I may use my time away from the lathe here in the near term to maybe make it a store. So you could just jump over here, for example, and go put that in my cart and pay for it now and ship it. Right? That would be really nice.
Hey, Mike, are you ever going to go to San Francisco or LA Pen Show?
I'm not going to make it this year. I wanted to go. Yeah, the new California Pen Show, which kind of hit where the LA was last year, or has been. I didn't make it to either of those yet. So far, I've been kind of confining myself to ones that I can drive to pretty easily. Now Dallas is pushing it, of course, and the Pacific Northwest is on because I have a son who lives in near Portland, I should say, not in Portland. So I'm kind of combining it into a family vacation trip.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it'll be that. When that one popped up, I was like, "That done, sold." You know, I just immediately enroll. They finally actually just opened registration recently. I just got an email saying you can now register. I already had hotel reservations, and I went ahead and registered as a vendor. So, I'm hoping everything will. It's their first time, so who knows how the show's going to go. But it looks like things are moving forward on that show. So. And also, it's worth mentioning, you know, all of these are just one of a kind. I mean, there isn't 10 of these laying around, you know. One of these is individual. I can make more. That's why I kind of console myself with when I sell something like the blue giraffe. You can also click here and you can look at the gallery. You can look at the pens that have already been sold. Oh, I was going to just make it as easier. I was going to jump here. Here we go. And so you can jump here.
Mike,
but now you can see like Larry's pen here. And you can see
Mike, where do you actually click to view what's available? Like that one's clicked on the gallery to see what's sold, but where do you click on to?
If you go to the main website, mikespenfund.com, this is the page that comes up. Okay. And these are and the pens you see, all of these are available.
Oh, okay.
Anything you can walk through these. All of these pens are currently available. If you want to see more, if you go, well, like for example, I wish there was a blue giraffe. You can go look and see what's already been made and is sold. I can always make more of most things. Now, if the material is no longer available, I obviously can't make another pen like it, but I can usually get pretty close with most things. Okay, so there's a fair number of pens that are available. I don't remember the exact count. I think I'm somewhere around 100 pens. So there's a lot of pens that are out there. If you scroll through here. And there's different kinds of material. Here's that crazy fiber pen. And like I said, I have in the past, I haven't made them too much lately, but I did make kit pens like this. So here's some earlier football pens, you know, this is a kit pen. So I was using the material for that. I think somewhere back here, but now for you really devout people, I don't remember where it is. Somewhere back here, there's a football pen that was made from the material of Lambeau Field, you know, for like the serious Green Bay Packer fans. They want, that's like getting a pen made from the One True Cross, you know what I mean? So I can go to places where I can get material from your stadium. And most stadiums, they'll often like refurbish, and somebody will come along and scoop up the material. And so I can then buy some chunks of material from various things. Like you get pieces of the Titanic and things like that. But for football fans, of course, they want their stadium. So I did make a pen in the Lambeau Field. I also made one out of the Minnesota Vikings field, and like I say, those got snatched up right away. They're gone, but I can always get more. But these are the ones that are crazy. Yeah, you can't see them. The reason I was scrolling around, you can't see them because they got sold. They're back over here on that second page I was mentioning. They're going to be down here somewhere. Somewhere there's going to be back here. Let's see if I can see it. Oh well, these are all pens I've made. Yeah. Now where did that one go? Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of history here of pens. Yeah. See, here's another black and there's that black and yellow ebonite. Very nice with the cigar shape. We won't mention any names. There's another one. There's a really big one.
Oh,
okay.
Is that Dan's?
That's Dan's pen.
That's Dan's.
Okay.
It still smells wonderful.